All right, this is a test. This is BelGeode, and we are testing Microsoft Flight Simulator Sim Update 8 as of end of February. This is now the beginning of March. March the 2nd, I believe this is being recorded on. And this bad girl right here, I'm sure needs no introduction. This is the Grumman Goose. In particular, this is the JRF version of the Grumman Goose, as you can see right there. This one is a custom livery that is created by the same people who created this aircraft, BIG RADIALS. And even though this aircraft at the time of this recording is not yet released, I think it is just about ready for prime time. So we're going to check it out. We're back here in North Carolina. In particular, we are at Jackson County Airport. Now, I've shown this airport before on another Chill video, and I will remind you the Chill videos are my videos that have very little production and extra fluff like theme songs and whatnot put in there. But anyway, the last time that we were here in a Cessna Skymaster. And today, we're taking the Grumman Goose. We're going to be flying from here to another relatively new airport. And that airport is going to be Mountain Air Airport, which is by Pilots. And I've also featured Pilots airports before in the past, so I'm kind of looking forward to flying into this one, especially since it's a bit of a challenge. All right, but the Grumman Goose, what can I really say about it? It is one of my favorite old birds. And this particular livery I had asked BIG Radials to make. There is a real aircraft that looks exactly like this. So I figured since they were making pretty much the exact same model, they could also make this livery, which they graciously complied. And instantly, it is my favorite that they've done. All right, but let's check out some of the various views that we have here, and then we'll hop in the aircraft, get her started, and take her for a flight. So we're going from drone camera view to static cameras. Incidentally, the static cameras I did for them and sent them the cameras.cfg file. So this is our standard view, our back view here. And we can also do our controls check while we're at it. Check our rudders, or rudder, singular. All right, that works. And then we've got this nifty little landing gear view, which also doubles as a water camera, because when you're actually taking off or landing on the water, I've set it so that it's just above the water level, so you can see like the wake and the water displacement and all of that. Really cool stuff. Don't know if we'll actually be able to see all of that in this particular video. I guess it depends on whether or not we find any bodies of water between here and Mountain Air and I feel like landing. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a long enough flight anyway. It's really not that far away, but we are in a Goose. We can't exactly go supersonic, so yeah. And then there's this camera. When I'd originally come up with this camera, we didn't have the radial wires or the radio wires here. But I'm kind of glad they're here because that adds that extra bit of realism to the Goose, even if it is kind of in the way and feels like it's going through my neck. I might just alter this camera and slide it off to the right a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But for now, it works. I like this view because, of course, you can see the engine, so you can easily tell if something's going wrong from outside the plane. And then we've got our side views. This one is, of course, to look at this gear, and it's helpful on water if you want to see anything off to the left, although you could just stay inside the cockpit and do that. And of course, I've got a corresponding view for the right, so you can see the right pontoon and the flaps and everything else. Pretty cool stuff. We can also look inside. Now, I will show you the inside once we actually go airborne, because since we're on the ground and it is a tail dragger, you can see the cabin's at an angle. kind of hard to navigate with the camera when the cabin is at an angle. So that's why we're not doing that right now. And of course, there's another view a little further out so you can see all the various control surfaces. Pretty cool stuff. I just love this livery. I can't say enough good things about this livery. I'm so glad that they took me up on my crazy idea and made this livery. It's easily my favorite. Easily my favorite. Shout out to Pemberton and Sons. I believe they're the ones that restored this livery. I don't remember if they actually own the real bird that looks like this, but I do know that they were the ones to get this thing back into ship shape. And we've got another view here under the elevator. Kind of like this one. Not quite sure what's going on with Sim Update 8 and these reflections. Something seems or feels a little off on the reflections. Maybe it's my settings. I haven't changed anything in my graphics settings. Usually I keep it exactly the same as it always is, but I have noticed some things do look slightly different this time around. But the performance seems to be okay, so I'm not going to complain too much. And then, of course, there's this view. Now, you're probably wondering, where the heck are we? Well, we're in the hangar, just off to the left of the aircraft. So you can see we've got a Cessna in here, we've got a Cub in here, and we've got lawn chairs. If this were Pittsburgh, those lawn chairs would be out in front of the house to mark off somebody's parking spot. We call them Pittsburgh parking chairs. But yeah, what we really are supposed to be seeing is the aircraft from the left wing. But since we're parked a little too close to here, then that's why we're seeing this. Basically, it's the opposite of this view that we were inside the hangar there. So you can see that's why we're at an angle as well. And then finally, last but most certainly not least, we've got one of my favorite views here where you can actually see the pilots in the cockpit. And yes, Asobo default pilots. By the way, Asobo, I still would like you to add more pilots. There are some missing quote unquote archetypes. Well, you know what I mean. But yeah, it would be nice if he did that. But yes, I do love the fact that we've got the Asobo pilots, and probably my only complaint is you can't see the co-pilot inside the bird, but we'll be in the cockpit momentarily anyway, so you'll see what I mean. Or you won't see what I mean. All right, but we'll put it back to here, and we will keep it here for now, and we'll hop in the cockpit. Okay, so this is the office of the Grumman Goose. You can see we've got a little door here. One thing that I will mention that I find kind of odd, the scaling does feel a little bit off. It feels a little, I don't know, claustrophobic. It feels smaller than I think it should look in real life. I'm not quite sure if that's an Asobo issue. I suspect it probably is an Asobo issue, but the bird does look a lot smaller to me in VR. I'm sure it looks okay in normal 2D flying, but I don't do normal 2D flying. Everything I do is in VR. All right, but with that having been said, let's go ahead and get everything powered up really quick. So we are going to need battery power. And incidentally, that's that box right there. So you've got 2 batteries and 2 generators. With my Virpil hold task, the button that I use for my batteries will flip both batteries and both generators on. All right, main fuel pump. Let's see, what are we set to here? Off. Okay, I would rather not like it to be set to off. I would rather it be set to both. Hopefully that'll do the trick. This, by the way, is your fuel gauge. So we've got one on either side. There's another one behind me. I don't feel like flipping around the other side there. And we've got the engine cutoff valves. You see those red valves there? So we've got to turn those on as well, which is a bit of a pain in the butt because I have to use the mouse. I could use the touch controllers for the Oculus Rift S. However, this aircraft does not support VR touch controllers, at least not yet. I'm not sure if that's something that they're planning though. Well, we got both of those on. We also have a wobble pump, a manual fuel pump. So we can always pump that. Should probably have our mixture gauge or our mixture levers up. So I'm going to set it to rich. We should set it to automatic rich. I'm going to just keep pumping here because hopefully the engines will come on first fire. All right, carb heat is set to cold. Fuel pressure is definitely up. You can see the two gauges there, so we do have fuel pressure going. We've got our starter switches, and we've got our magnetos. Okay, I think we're going to do it this time. All right, let's go ahead and get some lights on. So I want my nav lights on. Where are my nav lights? There they are. And strobe lights, logo lights, wing lights. Yeah, we'll turn the wing lights on. Actually, no, let's turn that off because I'm pretty sure that's not the type of wing lights I think they are. We will turn our strobe lights on though. Okay, parking brakes are on. You can tell because of the yellow T-handles there. If we were to turn those off, then you see. But yeah, there we go. Brakes are on. All right, so we're ready for an engine start. Let's go ahead and get Magneto 1 on. Clear. I think we got a good start on engine 1. What do you think? Okay, looks to be a good start on engine 1. I will say that the volume does seem awfully low currently. Not quite sure what's up with that, but it is what it is. Clear. Okay, engine 2 seems good. Just waiting for that manifold pressure to come up. All right, everything looks good, so we're going to pull it back. There we go. About 12 inches of manifold pressure. And yeah, we're looking good. All right, let's quickly go to the outside view again. We'll go around the plane in drone camera view. Just kind of check it out and make sure everything's looking good as we get our engines up to snuff. One of the things that I really love about the Goose is the fact that it's got that iconic radio sound. And you're probably wondering, what do I mean by that? Well, just listen. Hear how throaty the engine is? Hear how it almost sounds like it's missing every few cylinders? Which it's not, mind you. I have assurances that the engines are in good shape. But it's just so cool. It's just so cool. Love it. That sounds like a Goose. Well done, Big Radials. Well done. Meanwhile, back on the inside, yeah, it's very quiet. It is very, very quiet. This is how you open the window, by the way. You unlock it, and then you open it up. And yeah, it's really quiet. We should be hearing something here. All right, so as you note outside, we do have our lovely co-pilot Kara, but you may also notice we don't appear to have any radios in here. Why is that? Well, that's one of the best little features about this thing. You see this little hatch in the ground here? Or on the floor? When you open that up, you've got this console here. Voila! All the creature comforts you could want. So we've got a transponder, which I can set to standby. Let's make sure it's set to 1200. We'll wait for it to come on. Yep, 1200. And you can see we've even got a GPS here. I believe this is a GNS 530. So that's cool. Looks like we'll be taking off to the south, so we're going to need a taxi all the way to the opposite end of the runway there. You can hide your yokes here, and you could either change the yokes so that they have leather, much like that, or you could have the bare metal. Personally, I like the leather. I think it looks cool, so we'll go ahead and switch that. The exit ladder, you can deploy or stow it. Since we're already locked up, we won't need that. Show and hide fishing stool. That's cool. That's really cool. And that's a little something that I asked them for, and they graciously obliged. Wheel hubs, you can add anchor, and this is actually to help you on the water. So as far as steering while you're on the water, that'll help you with that. All right, Kara, my lovely co-pilot, I am going to need you to do a thing for me. Oh, you know what? I should increase my propeller pitch there. I should have done that before we actually started up, but whoops, I forgot. Folks, always use a checklist when you're doing stuff like this. It helps immeasurably. It helps. All right. Now, I believe we were going to tune traffic. I have no idea which way they're going to send us, but we're going to announce taxi.
24 Alpha Traffic Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is taxiing to runway 15.
Thank you, Kara. That confirms it for me. So runway 15 it is. Okay. Let's get our parking brakes off. And we'll give it a little bit of go-go juice. She takes some coaxing to get moving. And remember, this is a tail dragger, so you gotta be careful how you maneuver her. You see what just happened there, right? Now, you can also influence how well you turn. If you separate your throttles, see, well, here's what I'm doing now. I'm giving it more throttle on the left engine, and I'm giving it full right rudder. And you know what? Let me check my tail wheel to make sure my tail wheel is not locked. It is locked. Now it's unlocked. All right, baby. I'm going to need you to turn here if you don't mind. Wow. Turn rate is horrible. Why is the turn rate horrible? That didn't used to be that way. I feel like we're about to hit this fence either way. All right. Not to worry. I got a plan. Let's back up. Might take us a little while to turn around here. I hadn't anticipated that. What I could have done is parked us in the opposite direction. However, I'm going to see if we can work with it here. Of course, turning while that aircraft is sitting there is going to get interesting. It's going to get real interesting. So we'll see how well this works. All right, let's stop here. Come on, baby. I know you can turn. we're probably going to want to go on the grass, I'm thinking. Yeah, we're a high wing. He's fine. He's fine. Of course, this is going to make turning around the opposite way really fun. So we'll see how well that works. Probably not so much. All right, so 15 is obviously the opposite end of the runway, so that's going to get interesting.
24 Alpha Traffic Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo taking off runway 15 south departure.
I don't know about that, Kara. I really don't know about that. I'm thinking we may have to go with what we've got here. All right, so pitot heat's on, landing lights on, position lights. Why do I have separate position lights here? Okay, good enough for me. I don't believe we will need flaps, but I am going to give us a little bit of trim. So our elevator trim is right down there. Hopefully you can see me adjusting it. And that's our landing gear handle, by the way, which is that little knob that you turn. So yeah, this is going to be fun. We're actually taking off downwind. I feel more comfortable doing that than taking off the way we're supposed to, which is the complete opposite direction. This is a very narrow runway. We have very little margin for error. All right, so let's give her some power here. Come on, baby. You can move. I have faith in you. And we'll waddle our way over here. So yes, as you can see, we're facing in the total opposite direction from where we should be, but we're going to go for it. So let's bring our power up. We're looking for about 35 on the manifold pressure. So I've got it at 85% throttle. We're going to pull it up to about 90% throttle. Just shy of 35 right there, but hopefully that should be enough for us to do this. Tail wheel is up. There's the dip in the runway. And we're just about up. There we go, just past 90. Very nice. That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. All right, let's go ahead and get the gear up. Oh, I guess we should probably. There we go.
Atlanta Center Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is type Grumman 1 miles northwest of 24 Alpha 3,100 feet. Request flight following.
Should probably set my altimeter too while I'm at it.
70 Alpha Golf Bravo Atlanta Center. Squawk 5353.
Squawk 5353 Grumman Alpha Golf Bravo.
Let's make sure that Kara changes it. Of course she does, because she's a boss.
Alpha Golf Bravo radar contact 2 miles northwest of 24 Alpha 3,800 feet. Altimeter 30.12.
Roger Grumman Alpha Golf Bravo.
All right, we are good to go. And I'm going to turn to the left here. Go ahead and turn our landing lights back off. And we can start coming back on that power too while we're at it. So our RPM, I'm going to pull it back down to about 2100-ish. And we'll check out beautiful North Carolina down below us there as we head to our magenta line. Now, where's the airport that we just took off from? I want to say it's back this way. Yep, there it is. There it is. That's awesome. I don't care who you are. That's awesome. All right, what is our altitude here? We're almost at 6,000 feet. I'm thinking we're probably going to level out right around there at 6,000 feet. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep heading this way because this is, of course, the direction that we need to go. The only downside about having the GPS down here is in order to see it, you gotta take your eyes from outside of the cockpit, which is not ideal when flying. But there's our airport. There's where we took off from. So naturally, of course, I wanted to come back here because the last time that we were here, it was also nighttime. So you really did not get the opportunity to see what Jackson County Airport actually looks like. So there it is. And I was not kidding when I said this sucker was on a plateau. Now you know why it was so challenging to bring the Cessna Skymaster in. But all I will say, folks, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see the airport that we're landing at. That one's just as crazy. Alright, we are a little over 6,000 feet, so I'm going to trim us down some more.
Grumman Alpha Golf Bravo contact Atlanta Center on 132.625. Good day.
132.625 for Grumman Alpha Golf Bravo.
Alright, good deal, good deal.
Atlanta Center Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo 6,400 feet.
Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo Atlanta Center altimeter tree 0.12 continue as planned.
Now it may be interesting to note that I am not exactly using the autopilot on this thing. It does have an autopilot. I'm just choosing not to use it right now. But you see all of these little doohickeys in the center here? That's our autopilot. That is our autopilot.
125.8 for Grumman Alpha Golf Bravo.
There's
Asheville
the rivers
approach
there.
Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo 6,500 feet.
Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo Asheville approach altimeter tree 0.12 continue as planned.
Alright, how far off course are we? Not very, but we do have 51 miles to go, so it's going to be a bit of a haul. I'm going to turn us a little more in this direction here. And there we go. We should be good now. Alright, so now that we are basically on target here, let's see how the autopilot actually does work. So I'm going to go Master Autopilot on, Flight Director on, Nav hold on, and let's bring her down to about 6,500 before we engage the altitude hold. Right about there is good. Okay, so now we're on full autopilot, which is awesome. You can hear a little clicking noise. That'll be the servos. I'm not sure how 100% accurate that is, but we're gonna go with it because I like little weird noises like that in vintage planes. So I'm gonna call it accurate. I'm going to call it accurate. All right, let's go to the outside view and we'll check out these majestic mountains around us. It is indeed a beautiful thing. When I say this thing's just about ready for prime time, I am not kidding. I know that there's been quite a lot done with this bird, and even though it kind of started life as the OzX freeware Grumman Goose, I'm really glad that they decided to make a fully modeled Payware version, because honestly, this plane deserves it. This is a slice of history here, and this is, quite frankly, a really great rendition of said bird. Alright, I am trying to see if there's any bodies of water that we're going to be passing by that I could probably attempt a landing. That one looks awful small. Maybe if we were closer to Lake Norman, I might think about landing on Lake Norman, but yeah, we're going to actually fly over Asheville, so we're not that close to Charlotte. Aside from which, this looks kind of like a reservoir. I'm pretty sure that the people down there won't really appreciate me landing on their reservoir, polluting their clean water. Probably not a good idea to land there, I'm thinking. But we'll keep our eyes peeled for another body of water that we might be able to land on, so that's fine. But for now, since we're pretty much at cruise, let's go into the back. Nice. Yeah, like I said, I'm not so sure about the sizing of this. It seems very small, and while I do realize that a Grumman Goose is a pretty cramped bird, it feels really cramped to me. But let's check out the back. All right, Kara, it is your aircraft. Call me if we hit something. All right, so here we are in the cabin. And one of the first things that I really love are the fine details here. So you can see we've got our altimeter, so our passengers can see exactly how high up we are. They can also see exactly how fast we're going. They can see what the outside air temperature is, and of course, the time. Or at least, I think that's the time. The clock appears to be stopped, so I don't know how accurate that is. The altimeter does look correct, and the airspeed indicator does look correct, so we'll go with that. Alright, so let's work our way to the back here. And you can see we've got some nifty little chairs. To me, it feels like these chairs are a little small, but then admittedly, the only time I've actually seen a Grumman Goose in real life was, I believe, from Chalk's Aviation in Miami. I think they had it. I believe that's where I had seen it from. And honestly, they had more modern chairs than what is currently depicted in here. But this is okay, though. I like this. I like this. My eye height is currently off, so if I were to say sit in this seat right here, I would need to raise my point of view. So, right about there. But you can see where that puts my head though, right? I'm like almost touching the top of the cabin, and windows way down there. So that's why I'm saying I'm not sure how the height or the scaling is on this bird. To me, it does feel a little off. I'm not sure that I should be looking out by looking down. But, whatevs. Not gonna worry about it. There is, of course, a bathroom back here. Now, getting to it is going to be interesting because in VR, I don't have the capability of rotating my camera around. I have to physically rotate my head around. But we can open the door there, and look at that. You can see we got some crates in there. We got a little toilet in there, and some kind of rack. I'm not even sure what that rack is for, but okay. One question, though, Big Radials. Where's my toilet paper? I can't see my toilet paper. Do we even have toilet paper in here, or what am I going to use to wipe my butt? I know I'm asking too much. Now, closing this is going to get really interesting because of how I have to position myself here. All right, so we'll face front once more. And we'll work our way back to the front of the cabin. So I'm going to bring my head back down to this level so that way I'll be in the right position when I get into the pilot seat. And we'll do the crab walk to the cabin. Open the old door. Hi, Kara. I'm back. Did I miss anything? And we'll close the old door. Okay. We'll slide ourselves to the left. So just like that, we are back in the cabin. Sweet. So yeah, it's a quirky little bird. It's a classic. It's a beautiful bird. Absolutely love the heck out of it. As you can see, I do have some small minor issues, but I don't think that's really something that BIG RADIALS needs to pay close attention to, because as far as I'm concerned, they did a dang good job on this bird, and I am in love with it. It's a Grumman Goose. It sounds like a goose, it feels like a goose, it looks like a goose. So, you know what? It must be a goose. All right, what's our distance? About 30 odd miles. Yeah, 30.7 it looks like. Okay. Now, the airport that we're landing at is also on top of a mountain. This is going to be my first attempt coming in there. So, I'm going to tell you right now, this could go very horribly wrong. And I believe the runway is set up pretty much the same as the runway that we took off from. So it's kind of like one of those one way in, one way out kind of deals. But either way, we're probably going to need to land to the south. Not looking forward to that. I'm going to go to the outside view again really quick, and we'll check out some more of North Carolina before we begin thinking about our descent. Alright, so we are now at 26 miles out. Nice quick run here, folks. Nice quick run. I didn't want to do anything too complex, too complicated. This is basically just a shakedown cruise for ye old Grumman Goose. Just wanted to make sure that she handles exactly the way that I would like her to handle, and make sure that everything works as advertised. Although I have been beta testing this bird, so full disclosure, this is the beta version that I'm currently flying. It's not a quote-unquote preview copy, even though technically I guess you could also consider it that, given the fact that I have the permission to show this to you now. But yeah, it's still a beta, so there are some things that might change before this thing actually gets published live. Personally, I don't think that'll be too much of an issue though. Alright, is that a lake up ahead? Because I'm thinking I really do want to practice some kind of water landing, so I'm going to get our nav hold off, our altitude hold off, flight director off, and autopilot off. Let's see, do I have control? I do. Okay, there is a river there. I think that's what I'm seeing on the map. Question is this river wide enough for us to attempt to do some kind of landing, whether a touch and go or what? That's going to be the real fun. I would rather have a lake to do these kinds of shenanigans with, just more real estate overall. But we're going to see if we can make it work on the river here. First, we're going to need to figure out a good spot to come in, because a 90-degree bend like the one I'm looking at right there is just not going to cut it. Need something a little bit more straight away than that. But it does look like the river goes through a valley here, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. Let's peel back the power here a little. Put the manifold pressure down to about 20. There we go. Now, if you get below 1200 on a manifold pressure with the gear up, that orange or amber light will come on to basically tell you, hey, dummy, your gear's up. Are you planning on landing or what? That's not going to be a concern for us, though, because we're looking for water landing here. All right. Yeah, there is an awful lot of turny here on this river, as I like to call it. Not sure this is going to be a very good idea. Maybe I should have taken us to the Panama Canal, huh? All right, but I'm thinking of running. What direction are we heading here? 030. Let's go north to south, and we'll see how that looks. Oh, actually, you know what? That does kind of look straight. Okay, let me pass that first, because I was thinking that straightaway there, but it does kind of dogleg a little to the right. Might not be as ideal as, say, this straightaway that I'm looking at here. We'll see how this works, though. I'm a little concerned about those trees on the bank, but if we do this as a touch and go, we might be all right. I'm going to go to the outside view really quick here because I want to set us up in a proper camera. So this is the camera that we want. You can see the river. There certainly is a lot of straightaway. There's just an awful lot of trees along the riverbank there. But I'm thinking right after it comes out of that turn, that's probably where we should attempt to touch down. So we're going to give it a shot here. Let's see how well this is going to work. Again, I'm peeling the power back a bit. Now, I do have our nose trimmed down, so that could become a problem. But you can see the river there, so we're watching out for that. And depending on where the aircraft wants to weather vane, I may need to separate the throttles and adjust each throttle manually, so that way we've got asymmetrical thrust. That could help us out, but I don't know. We'll see how well that works. Pull our power up because I can already hear that the engine is starting to say, yeah, we're not feeling good about this. I mean, truth be told, I'm not feeling good about this either, but this is what I do for you folks. Shenanigans. Who am I kidding? I do this for myself. I do this because this is great. It's very therapeutic, you know. I was discussing that with a friend of mine online. The therapy of flight sim. With all the stuff going on in the world today, and I mean all the stuff. If you've been watching the news, I don't even need to tell you what's happening in the world right now. But yeah, stuff like this. Being in VR, flying an old Grumman Goose around the back country of North Carolina and doing crazy stunts like this. This is what makes it all worthwhile as far as I'm concerned. All right, let me trim us up here a little. I now figured out what that tick-tick-ticking sound was. It's technically not the autopilot, it's just the trim wheel. Trim wheel does that noise. I'm gonna open my window again. Yeah, I would kind of like the audio to change if I have the window open, but I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Could be a known bug. I haven't checked in on the Discord with BIG RADIALS today, so I really don't know what's going on there. I do, however, know that we are awfully slow. You can see we are at 80 knots. And there's our river. I didn't see where the river bend is, though. That may or may not be an issue. Alright, I want to say this is it coming up here, so we're going to attempt to go straight. Yeah, this is going to be sketchy as all get out. I am not even going to lie, folks. This is going to be real sketchy. We're just going to get into the river canyon I guess that's what that would be called, is a canyon. Yeah, here's the bend that I was looking for. So we're basically going to follow the river and try to set her down somewhat in the center, pointing down the center. Should probably get my feet on the rudder pedals while I'm at it here. Oh boy. Needless to say, kids, don't try this at home. Let's go to that outside view, shall we? Yeah, we're starting to run out of real estate here. So I'm thinking we're probably going to want to take off again. So let's just go ahead and do that. That is kind of cool, though, that you could do that. That is really cool that you could do that. I like that. That was a lot of fun. Okay, since we're heading south anyway, we really need to be heading northeast.
November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is type Grumman 15 miles southwest of Tree November Romeo 2,000 feet.
Kara, you don't have to do that.
Flight following.
You don't have to do that, babe.
November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo, Teardrop Approach. Squawk 6063.
Oh boy, so now we got a new squawk code.
Squawk 606 Grumman, Alpha Golf Bravo.
I'm going to keep it on manual here for a while.
Grumman Alpha Golf Bravo radar. Contact 15 miles southwest of Tree November Romeo 2,400 feet. Altimeter tree 0.12.
Now I also realized that
Roger,
I did not
Alpha Golf Bravo.
I did not have my RPM back up, so that could have gone a heck of a lot worse. Whenever you're doing stuff like that, you always need to make sure your prop pitch is up, your RPM, but I neglected to do that. Alright, we need to be heading what? Heading 052? What are we at now? 030? Okay. A little bit more. Alright, now we need to find our airport, which is about, what is that, 15, 16 miles away? 14 to be precise, 14.9. So yeah, so far so good. Lots of fun shenanigans going on here. I'm going to bring our manifold pressure back down. We'll put it around 24 inches. What's our RPM looking at? Or looking like? 22. Yeah, I'm fine with that. We could put it back down to 21. There we go, right about there. And one of my favorite things about this aircraft is look how in trim we are. I mean, we are kind of veering slightly to the left, but I think that might be due to the wind. But we're not gaining or lowering any altitude. We're pretty much staying on heading here. It's just cool. I have the autopilot completely off. There is no autopilot right now going on this thing. That's really cool. Alright, so I'm pretty sure our airport is coming up. It's going to be on one of those hills directly in front of us. And that's going to make things really fun. Alright, so I'm going to keep heading in this direction here. I'm debating whether or not I should turn the autopilot itself back on, because I want to go back to the outside view, and typically when I go to the outside view, just to make sure that I've got us covered, I will typically put the autopilot back on. So you know what, let's go ahead and do that. Autopilot on, flight director on, altitude hold on, and nav hold. Okay, now we can go back to the outside. Okay, so yeah, the tick tick ticking is our little elevator pitch control there. What are we looking at for distance? About 8 miles. Okay. Huh. So I need to start scanning for this airport, and this could get interesting because I'm not 100% certain which one of these mountains it's on top of. Yeah, this is what I asked for, folks. This is exactly what I asked for. This is what I wanted to do. Take a Grumman Goose to the mountains of North Carolina and try to land it on top of a mountain. You saw how much issues we were having trying to turn around back at Jackson County. Heaven help us if we need to do that there. Of course, there's also the issue that we are at elevation. Right now, our elevation is 3,700. So we're not exactly at sea level. Actually, that just occurred to me. I could actually pull this back. That's our mixture here. We'll set it to auto rich. I should have set it to auto rich to begin with, but again, use a checklist. Do not do like I do. Hop in here and think you know everything about the bird because you've flown it before a couple of times. Not in real life, mind you. I do like these mountains, though. See, this is why I come here. It does remind me a lot of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is pretty similar to this. Just as dramatic, I should say. Even though where I live specifically isn't nearly as mountainous as this. It's hilly. It's very hilly. It's just not as mountainous. There is a distinction. Alright, I'm gonna need to... Oh, I see what it's doing here. It's doglegging us to the right. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get the autopilot off. So we're gonna want to come in anyway. And I'm gonna get our prop pitch back up. Okay, so we've got full prop pitch. And I'm gonna pull our manifold pressure down here a little. Kara, do me a favor, please. Can you contact Mountain Air and let them know we're coming in for a landing, please? Runway 14.
2 November Charlie 0 traffic Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo 5 miles west 3,900 feet inbound to land runway 14.
Wait, is that it on top of that mountain? Oh boy. Yeah, this is gonna get interesting. Speaking of mountains, how about we gain a little bit more altitude and get over this one, huh? Yeah. This is why I love North Carolina. Alright, I'm going to zoom in our GPS by 1 notch. Let's make it 2. Alright, so that way I can literally follow the course and it should guide me in. Pull the power back here a bit. Get our landing lights on. Get our landing gear down. Gear, are you coming out? You sure are. See, this is why I need the sound to be modified, because I can't quite tell if I've got everything right here. I have no idea what I'm saying. No idea. I'm more concerned about trying to bring this thing down, and I'm still not quite seeing the airport. I see what appears to be a road, but we may need to fly around this thing once just to kind of figure out the best way to bring her in. But according to this, it is a little more to the right and off in this direction, so we'll see how well that works. want to say it's on top of that hill right there. But given the fact that we are awfully close to the ground here, I'm not 100% certain. It could be directly in front of us. I mean, according to the GPS, it is kind of directly in front of us. That might be it. That might be it. Yep, that is definitely it. Okay, so we're going to do a once over here, and then we'll do a left-hand orbit, or left-hand brake if you prefer. So there it is. That is mountain air. We are going to attempt to land on that. Yeah. I hope y'all are taking bets on this one. Maybe we should come in the opposite way. We'll do everything opposite from what we did with takeoff. Windsock is kind of pointing us in the opposite direction though, so that's kind of working in my favor. Okay, we're going to come in on runway 32 instead. Kara, can you tell them we're coming in on runway 32? Just tell them we're on final or something. They'll understand.
2 November Charlie 0 traffic Grumman November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is on final runway 32 to land.
They'll never suspect a thing. Alright, I'm going to trim us up a little bit here. I don't like how our nose is dipping. And we're going to do a teardrop approach. None of this is by the books, by the way. Just in case you were curious. You know how my channel works. I never do anything by the books. Depends on what I'm flying. I'll put it this way. It does depend on what I'm flying greatly. If I'm in something like the Corsair or the Skymaster, you know, stuff that I've got a lot of virtual hours in, yeah, I will try to fly it by the numbers, by the book. The Goose is a preview, so I'm just kind of showing you what she can do, and I'm not necessarily flying her to the letter based on what the manual says. But either way, we're going to see if we can pull it off. Alright, there's our airport there. Pulling the power back, gear's already out. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Let's go ahead and get some flaps down. Flaps 30. Yep, flaps look good. Wait. Why am I hearing the flap sound twice? Not sure what's up with that. Alright, so we want to be around 80 to 90. We don't want to be any lower than 70. 70 bad. So we're going to add some power here and just bring her in nice and easy. Remembering, of course, this is a tail dragger, so slamming on the brakes, very bad idea. I'm trying to do a somewhat shallow approach, but by the same token, I don't want to be too shallow because otherwise we are going to be a smear on the near side of this mountain. That's also bad. It's also very bad. So power management, both engines are looking good. We do have a bit of a crosswind right now, so I'm going to give her some power. Oh, that's a hell of a crosswind. Oh boy. Let's bring her in. Little floaty, cut power. And she's still floaty. Holy crap, she is ever so floaty. We're running out of runway here. Whoo! Okay, not gonna lie, that was rough. That was very rough. But we are still in one piece, and oh my god, look at that! Classic car, classic car. Love it. Alright, cadence braking here. There is no way we're going to turn around. It's just not going to happen in this thing. Alright, but we're here. We made it. There's the spa, the resort, or whatever you want to call it. There's our golf carts. Probably going to need to hook up a couple of these golf carts so that we could tow ourselves back. Or we could just go to the outside view and do this. I love it. I love it. In fact, we'll even go to this view here. Let's go ahead and get our flaps up. There used to be a little plug-in or add-on that will help you as far as pushback, and you just simply use your rudder pedals to determine which way you want to turn. I had it. I'm thinking I'm going to need to get it again and reinstall it on my Microsoft Flight Sim because it does come in very, very handy. But needless to say, Pilots has done an incredible job once again. Look at that house. That's just awesome. Of course, we do have some... We're going to go with vines. Those are vines. That's not a tree growing inside the house and out. That's vines. Yeah. We're just going to go with that. And I'm in love with that car. What is that? A Monte Carlo? Is that a Gran Torino? I know that car. I used to see that an awful lot as a kid. But I can't remember the exact model. I just know that I liked it. Alright. Let's see if we can turn. Yeah, something tells me this is not going to work. We're going to try going straight and then turning and pulling the power back. Yeah, we are not getting anywhere with this. Oh boy, maybe this wasn't the best aircraft to choose to bring us in here. And of course, we have no reverse prop pitch either, so there is that. There is that. Hey, we're kind of off the runway. That's good enough for me. Let's go ahead and get the parking brakes on. And we'll get our landing lights off. Alright, so you know what? I think that's good enough for government work. We'll figure out how to maneuver this behemoth off the runway and get us parked. The whole point was the preview. I wanted to show you the Grumman Goose, which I will remind you is by BIG RADIALS. Should be coming any day now, I guess. It looks to me like it is ready for prime time, and I gotta give them huge props, big radio props, or give them a huge shout out here, because I think they've done a spectacular job with this aircraft. Very few things to complain about, and of the things that I can complain about, I'm not 100% convinced that it's actually their fault or their problem. So yeah, when this one comes out, if you're looking for something classic, something vintage, something iconic, definitely pick up the Goose. It's just so worth it. It is just so worth it. Alright, but that will do it for this test. So thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode. If you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Just to remind you, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator Sim Update 8. And we are in North Carolina at Mountain Air. The link to this scenery is going to be in the video description below. However, I will tell you, best place to get it is inside the sim. Just get it from the marketplace. BIG RADIALS Grumman Goose will be coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but like I said, this is meant to be a preview video just to kind of give you an idea. But we'll be back next time with some more goose shenanigans and to figure out some other places that we can get this bird into. Until then, thanks as always. Ciao. I'm just going to shut it down right here.